The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is me, Arlene, starting the day off fresh with my co-host today, Kim Tan.
Hello, good morning, ASEAN.
So how are you guys all there listening to us at Durian ASEAN? So we have a bunch of Southeast Asian news that we would like to report to you this morning. First off is about a refugee in Malaysia. So it is stated that the refugee and asylum seekers in Malaysia will not be sent back if they have the UNHCR card. This is said by the this said by Shahidan, and who's Shahidan again?
I think he's a representative from the immigrants department.
Yeah, anyway, this person who he said that only if the person has the UNHCR card, that means they can stay here and they are allowed to, be a be a refugee maybe. But then we don't really recognize refugee in Malaysia.
Yes.
So if the government don't recognize a refugee, then even if they stay here, what about their daily lives? Their education, their employment. They need to survive to eat. They cannot just depend on the charity of NGOs and volunteers.
And because we haven't actually signed the United Nations Refugee Convention, so it doesn't really have a perfect guideline on how to handle all the refugees. And plus, they also said that it under condition they have the UNHCR documentation, they wouldn't be sent back. And also, if they are under threat, if their life is under threat, so they wouldn't be sent back to their countries. I would say that all immigrants, their life is under threat.
Yeah,
isn't it?
We hear, how many times we hear a story of Rela, trying to threaten all these refugee groups. In fact, it has been numerous reports from human rights groups that Rela personnel have threatened and even detained refugee with valid UNHCR cards.
Yes.
So, this is a issue that a lot of us just close one eye because it's not related to us. They are just refugee, like we are Malaysians.
Yeah.
But mind you, the number of refugee in Malaysia is actually huge. I mean, just to give a number, at the moment there are 132,187 refugees from Myanmar, 325 from Afghanistan, 791 from Iraq, 1,157 from Somalia, and 4,013 from Sri Lanka. So the number is actually very, very huge.
Yeah, and then they said that Malaysian government has been doing its best even when dealing with illegal immigrants. Like this is a statement to be doubted by us all.
Yeah, it is a statement to be doubted.
Yeah,
but in a sense, I felt personally that even with a UNHCR card or without a UNHCR card, a refugee, the reason why they come here because their lives has been threatened, and for a country that promotes and that supposedly is a Muslim majority country, and supposedly we should be promoting good values and good
like
conduct,
being helpful, giving hands to help those in need.
And majority of these refugees, I believe, are from Muslim countries and are Muslims themselves as well. So how can a brother treats another Muslim brother, unkind or unjust?
Yeah, and also they have made a statement. Shahidan has said that usually when there is an operation to send back these illegal immigrants, Malaysia will only pay 50% of the airfare. But now we fully fund the air tickets. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not too sure. Because if they are managed to go back, but there's a reason why they come here. So we should actually solve the problems from the roots, not just by sending them back.
Yeah, I mean, if Malaysians are really concerned with the plight of this refugee, they also need to know that they need, to put pressure from countries where they are treating their citizens badly, and the reason why their citizens are coming to Malaysia as a refugee. So moving on to just a quick news about a missionary plane crashes in Papua is being reported at Antara News. So a missionary plane belonging to Advent Christian missionary group crashed in Doyo, Jayapura district, Papua province on Wednesday. Although the number of victims and the cause of the plane being crashed are not known yet.
Yeah.
So,
But we will update all of the listeners tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah. So the next one is also in Indonesia. Seems like the United Nations and the US are cooperating together to form the biggest peacekeeping anti-terror training camps in Southeast Asia. So it's already opening, and mind you, the cost of operating this is, and also for operating and starting this the training center is at $145 million. That's a lot of money.
Yes, I guess it's a very perfectly well structured place lah, the training center lah for the counter-terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to terrorism in Southeast Asia, even though we seldom talk about it, as in like in Malaysia as per se, but actually the activities are quite vigorous, although and in small pockets of communities in Southeast Asia. And I think having the peacekeeping and anti-terrorism training camp is good at one point, but at another point, we must also see this in a more cautious light, because as we know what happened on the aftermath of 9/11, where the US government has its massive policy on anti-terrorism, but at the same time, it is actually perpetrating more terrorist activities, in the country where, they had their military forces, like in Iraq and also Afghanistan. So we have to see this in a cautious light, although at the same time we acknowledge there are some terrorist activities happening around Southeast Asia.
Yeah. And then like in a negative way of thinking, like if you have a counter-terrorism center, and then what if there's like undercover there? Then they will know how would you counteract them, and they will come up with a solution on like how to attack you guys, because they have already know that all of your solutions to all the terrorism attack. It's quite scary in a way lah. I feel that if you were to have a counter-terrorism center, training center, you really have to make sure that your security is well, make sure that the people that you handpick is really quality, and then they will not betray you or something.
I think you make a very good point on that, because in the past, what happened the history of Afghanistan is a lot of the Mujahideen and even Osama bin Laden himself were previously, being trained and exposed by the U.S. military.
Yes.
And because at that time the Soviets were invading Afghanistan, so they were equipped with how to combat doing terrorist activities knowledge by the U.S. itself. And when it comes to this situation, I think the vetting part is definitely should be more stringent.
You need to make sure who you are training. Like you are not training your enemy, Like make sure that you are not training future enemy.
So moving forward to the Brunei Times. So this is about halal industry.
Yeah. Economy.
Finally, Brunei is kicking their halal industry forward, and they are venturing in the Malaysian market.
Yeah.
Well, to put things in perspective, Southeast Asia do have a lot of Muslim population. In fact, we have the most Muslim population in the world, I guess, especially with Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Philippines, Myanmar, and a few other parts, of Southeast Asia. So, I I think the halal industry is definitely going to be a huge industry in Southeast Asia in that sense.
Yeah, if they are able to promote it further. So actually this news is based on the Malaysia International Halal Showcase. So this is why it says that the Brunei Halal brand will be tapping into Malaysian market. So this kind of showcase is actually very good in promoting the halal industry.
Yeah, in a sense, I mean, it is a new industry, but it is an industry that would definitely benefit Muslims and Muslim population and Muslim entrepreneurs or whoever that is interested in the halal industry itself.
Yeah, and also the good thing is like when the halal company comes in from other countries, it promotes it promotes healthy competitions. So it will actually benefit the consumer at the end because if we've limited halal company that is selling halal foods, so it will be hard for the consumer to choose. You know, it's always like a certain company because that is what they have in our country.
Yeah, I mean, in certain Muslim countries where there's very little halal food. Actually, the price of halal food is much more expensive than the normal, the normal food being sold.
Because the demand is more than the supply.
Yeah. So if the supply can be increased and there's more competition, it might drive down the price as well.
Yeah.
So the next one is by Brunei Times, also about Brunei, but this is another story. This is about the Sharia law that will be happening in Brunei. Officials said that is about have yet to clarify details on how crimes would be proven if offences were committed by Bruneians outside the Sultanate under the Sharia Penal Code Order 2013. So in this case, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, one of the officers there raised a query on the procedures taken towards an individual who is accused of committing an offence outside of Brunei under the Sharia law. In this case, it is interesting to see because they are going to have their Sharia law soon on the 22nd of April. But at the same time, we can't help but to see people are still questioning like, how will we be, doing this? How are we going to prosecute the criminals? How are we going to prove that, they are the one who do the criminals, and what kind of punishment that they should receive, under the Sharia law? They are still asking questions on that. So do you think really Brunei are ready for Sharia law?
I guess what they are planning to do is that they will just enforce this law first, and then when complication came, so they will solve it one by one, I guess, because there's still a lot of details that they haven't clarified yet inside under the Sharia law. So I think that is what they are planning to do lah. Like you enforce it first, and then you see what kind of problems will come out, because this is quite new, I think that a country that actually wanted to practice Sharia law in their country, I guess so they are quite new in this, so maybe they will actually just enforce it and see what will come up.
Oh, they better be careful, because Sharia law is always been seen in a negative light. If it is not being carried out, in a way that would be fair and just to its society, then it will forever be seen as a negative, the law that would have negative impact to society, and people won't have faith in Sharia law anymore. My question also on people who defend why we need hudud law, I felt that they are being too, they have this mindset where everything should be fixed. And one of the Ustad, his name is Ustad Haji Johar Haji Muhammad. He's the head of Shari prosecutor at the Islamic Consultative Unit. He said that hudud are rules set by Allah. Muslim scholars only define it. There are a few laws that are set in details by Allah, like the Sharia law, while some laws are brief but defined by Muslim scholars. So it seems like the law itself is pretty vague, like which one is like already defined by the Quran, and which one is still, needs some clarification by Muslim scholars. And because this is opinions of human beings, it is definitely
could be biased.
Yeah, could be biased and open for like biased interpretation.
Yeah, exactly.
But how about the non-Muslim in Brunei? How they perceive this law? Would it implicate them?
Yeah,
This is also another question that needs to be asked. In terms of Sharia law, I personally believe, I'm not sure about you, Kim Tan, but I personally believe they are not ready yet.
Yeah, I think so too, because and Sharia law was actually, it was used popularly during a time where it's ancient times, I would say. Like at this modern context, like if you were to use it, you need to redo it, like the whole thing, restructure the whole thing, and that you need like a bunch of really intelligent Muslim scholars to actually define it and then amend it based on the modern context. So I guess maybe it's too soon for them lah.
I believe so, and the fact that there's no open discourse on the Sharia law.
Yeah.
For example, even people from Brunei are not allowed to discuss negatively on the Sharia law. So people have their own opinion. They might not agree with it. They might agree with it. They might think that is a bunch of ancient laws that is not relevant to today's society. And there are people who think that it needs some form of reformation. But at the same time, the government say that you shouldn't talk about Sharia law at all. Like especially if you are talking about it in a negative light.
Is it verbally, or it was enforced by law that saying that they cannot?
Verbally. But in a sense, it's like, how can you enforce a law but it is not being able to be publicly discussed and consulted, Yeah. Because the law should be agreed by everyone. It shouldn't just be, from a top-down point of view. So the manner of it being conducted is also questionable. So in a sense, it's not about the Sharia law that people are questioning, is about how it is being carried out, how transparent it is, how open it is, and how much it is keeping up with modern times.
Will it be fitted to the community right now?
So and then the next one is also about Islam, and also in Brunei. In this case, the Royal Highness Prince Haji Al Mutadi Billah, the Crown Prince and Senior Minister at the Prime Minister Office, stated that Muslims absolutely required to learn as well as deepen their understanding of the secrets contained within the revered Al-Quran. But somehow, in order to understand the Al-Quran in all its eminence, one may follow the way Ahli Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that is, by way of talaki, or coming face to face with scholars. So, to cut it short, what he said is, one does not simply learn Al-Quran without scholars' guidance.
Yeah.
So, Kim Tan, maybe, what do you think of this?
I actually think it's good to have guidance, because you couldn't be you can have the ability to discuss with about your questions regarding the things that were stated inside the Al-Quran. But then I think that fully understanding the Al-Quran, you will really need a very, very intelligent scholars like that. Because what if you actually have a really kind of wise interpretation, like your own interpretation, but what if the Muslim scholars that you have met to discuss about this wasn't really having the best interpretations, and that usually Muslim scholar, they were called Muslim scholar because they were actually having a certain like how to say, certain place in the community. So most of the people, they believe in them. So what if they doesn't really interpret it correctly, but then he has a huge amount of followers, and sometimes if you are unwise, you tend to follow. So what if a huge amount of people, they just follow whatever a certain Muslim scholar says, but actually the Muslim scholar wasn't really he didn't really have the best interpretations of Al-Quran, whatever stated in Al-Quran. So it can be quite scary in a way, I would say.
But what about other religion? I mean, maybe the religion that you are professing, do they also preach similar tone, as in like, if you want to deepen your knowledge, you have to follow the scholars' guidance or the monks?
I would say they will also have talk where the monk will kind of like define what was inside, because the kitab, the Buddhist kitab, it's usually in a language that we doesn't really understand. It's not easily understandable. So it's more like a poem or something. So they will tell you what is it inside, but usually it's about it's not like rule. Usually, like how I see the Muslim, they translated the Al-Quran, they interpret the Al-Quran in a way that it becomes a rule in your life.
So
But
they have a very legalistic sort of perspective on Al-Quran instead of having a more spiritual understanding of
for Buddhists,
the religion.
it's more like it's an advice. It's not a rule. It's not like, okay, you shouldn't do this. It's like telling you what if you do this, what will happen. Certain things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the fact that he highlighted that Muslims should deepen their understanding as much as they can on the Quran. I think this is something that a lot of Muslim, even in Malaysia itself, they are very good at being armchair critics, and also talking about, oh, you shouldn't do this, if you do this, it's haram. And then if you probe them further, like, how do you know that? And like, my ustad said it.
Yeah.
It's like, everything is like, he said it, or she said it, I saw it from the TV.
Yes, that is what I call unwise followers, because they are not able to think by themselves. They are not able to understand Al-Quran by themselves.
So when we follow the scholars' guidance, it's not follow blindly, but it's more like understand like different because I think different scholars bringing in different perspective on the interpretation of the religion itself. So having more scholars to learn from actually would benefit oneself rather than having just one person and then you blindly follow, and whatever you say, he said it.
Yeah, that is what Malaysian is doing actually. There are only certain ustads or ustazah which is very, very popular, and then they tend to only follow like a few that they think that, okay, like he is very popular, okay, I should follow him. I think he's very wise.
Yeah, and the fact that I think we also need to move away from seeing everything within Islam or within Quran in a legalistic context. I think the spiritual part of it is more important, especially the way how it inculcates into our own daily lives.
Yeah.
Like some people are so ritualistic and so legalistic that they restrict themselves too much, but at the same time, simple thing like being kind to others, being respectful to people, even to children, they don't practice in their daily lives.
They have forgot the basic things in
like
Islam.
Compassion.
Yes.
These are very basic values.
Yes.
I don't think it's just in Islam, but in a lot of religions, and a lot it's also within
in all the religion. I'll put it.
I mean, if you don't practice such basic values, like that means even though you know the legalistic part and the other more hard facts part of religion, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah,
actually.
a more pious person. Right? Yeah. So this is the news for today. Thank you, Tan Kim. It has been such an interesting conversation with you on all the Southeast Asian news. Okay. We will continue again later on with Blast from the Grassroots.
Okay. Goodbye, ASEAN.
Goodbye.